Best of r/entitled parents episode 79. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. Okay, so in case the title wasn't clear, what happened was that Ek over here was hogging 2 seats all to herself. So here's how it went down. We're studying for an exam in a hall. I walk into the hall and see a chair. I'm like, yeah, a chair. Ek is sitting on a different chair. Just before I take the chair, Ek says it's hers but she's sitting on a chair. This is dialogue. Me. Takes chair Ek. That chair is mine. Me. Then whose chair are you sitting on? Ek. I dunno but that one is mine. Me. Alright, how about you take your chair and I take that one? Ek. No, me. Why not? Ek. Because that's my chair. This goes on for a while and soon Ek starts hitting me. I get pissed but still put up with it and sit on the chair, then she throws me off. I'm just shocked at then. So afterwards another student comes and takes the chair away from Ek, so Ek gets mad and shoved him. A teacher then walks in and sees what's going on, so I tell her and she sees Ek is being childish, so she gives me the chair. Ek then got really pouty about it, so I just gave her the chair and looked for a different one. Ek then put both her legs over the chair and stretched out. I asked her if she was happy and she said yes. Do right now I'm just super pissed and hope she got a bad grade. Thank you. Next. This story didn't end with an explosive conflict or anything, but the audacity of this man still amazes me. A couple years ago my parents started handing out full-sized candy bars on Halloween because our house is often skipped due to its odd location. Most kids were thrilled, this man was not. Cast, MD, my dad ED, entitled Dad. ED comes to the door with a 3-year-old and 10-year-old. My dad answers the door with a bowl of candy in hand. ED sees at all we have our full-sized candy bars. ED, what do you have for my little guy? MD, this is all we have. ED, you should really be more considerate. MD, you should really be more thankful. You know you're going to eat most of his candy when he gets home anyway. My dad was baffled and the ED just stormed off without taking any candy. The next year my pushover mom started keeping fruit snacks and pretzels for smaller kids. Thank you. Next. My sister was in an abusive relationship for 6 years. Unfortunately, like many women that went through the same, she was manipulated by her ex-boyfriend and didn't have enough self-esteem to stop the abuse. She didn't think it was abuse until things got really ugly. Fortunately, the marriage has ended last week and now she is in much better shape and headed towards a better life. After the breakup, my sister reunited the family to tell us about it. This is when the entitlement took place. The cast is entitled Dad, ED, entitled Mom, EM, Sister, S, and me. This is how the conversation went. S. Everyone, I have important news. I broke up with insert shitty ex-husband's name. ED, what? Why? What happened? S. Proceeds to tell the story of a 6 years abusive relationship with a lot of verbal and even physical abuse. ED, well, okay. But what about me? S. What do you mean, Dad? ED, well, you still have to give me a grandson. You are 33 years old, you won't be able to bear healthy children much longer. S. Dad, how can you say something like that to me? I've been through hell and back and you can think about is your grandchild that doesn't even exist? ED, yes. I gave you life, a proper education, house, food, everything you wanted. The least you can give us is a grandchild. EM, yeah, I agree. We are very impatient. All I want is a grandchild. S. I am not having a child with a man like shitty ex-husband. I need to find the right man, the one what will love and cherish me. ED, well, you better do that soon. I am tired of waiting, I swear. Both you and your brother are the most ungrateful children I could have been cursed with. S. You cannot make me have a child, it's my body. I will have a child whenever I feel to. Not when you want. ED, unfortunately you are right, I can't. I want to have a grandchild so bad. You have no idea. If the child was a boy, maybe I can shape him into a real man. And like your brother, for context, I am gay and my father hate me for it. I only went to the family reunion because my sister really insisted for me to go. The fight got really ugly and from that on, I backed up my sister the entire time and we ended up storming out of the house. Both of us haven't talked to our parents since that event. My dad is such a horrible and selfish person. I have other stories about him that I'll maybe tell someday. I'm just happy that my sister is better and now has a chance to find the right person for her. Thank you. Next. Subreddit doesn't allow pictures. Original text. Ich war heute mit meinem kleinen Sohn dort der leider einen Wutanfall hat und ich wurde gebeten den Laden zu verlassen oder mein Kind soll sich beruhigen also ich bin ehrlich dieser Laden hat mich das letzte Mal gesehen so etwas kinder. Unfreundlich habe ich noch nie erlebt. Translation. I was there today with my little son who unfortunately had a tantrum and I was asked to leave the shop or my child should calm down so I'm honest this shop last saw me so unfriendly I have never seen anything like it. Proof. Thank you. Next. So, this just happened. Cost me entitled mother. EM school staff. SS. So, a little background. I had a baby about 10 weeks ago and have been struggling with my punctuality. Big deal for me as my mom runs 2 hours late to everything. I went to pick up my 7 years old from school early today. I meant to be there by 130, but pulled up to the visitor lot at 225. When you pick up early, you have to be in the front office by 230, so I was feeling a little panicked already. I was absolutely relieved to see an open parking spot, so I didn't have to street park and get out the stroller, and could just carry the infant seat inside instead. Parked on the curb behind the only non-handicapped open space is a red car. I thought I could just 3-point turn into the space. Unfortunately I was just too nervous about hitting her, so after 4 failed backing up and entering attempts I rolled my window down and motioned for her to do the same. When she didn't, I tried to motion for her to pull up, while yelling so she could hear me. Then window rolls down, and as I start to repeat myself, because, running engines and 12 feet apart, raising my voice the EM starts yelling about how she doesn't appreciate my attitude and if I can't park, I shouldn't be driving. I'll add at this time, that the EM was punctuating her comments with curse words about every 5th word or so. I try to tell EM that I'm concerned about hitting her vehicle, and ask if she can please move up long enough for me to park, then move back. She tells me that people picking up with their cars have to go through the parent line and I need to leave. I told EM that I was picking up early and needed to park and asked again to move. Please keep in mind that every time I tried to speak, EM starts yelling over me, insulting my driving, parentage and my ethnicity. Also she's remarking about how entitled I'm acting. I finally yelled at her to move her damn car. First swear out of me, so proud of my restraint as I honestly have a mouth like a sailor. She rolls her window up and backs her car up 2 feet. I motioned again for her to pull forward so she wouldn't be behind my car and I wouldn't risk hitting her. Down comes EM's window. She declares that there's plenty of room. I give up for the moment and try to back up a little to try to make the turn, but can't. I'm not very good at confrontation, but I decided to bite the bullet. I got out of the car and approached EM's car, window still down. As I walk the 10 feet, she jumps out of her car, yelling and waving her arms. At this point, I probably should have just called the front office and asked someone for help, but I was panicking a bit. I put my hands up and said, "Hey, I just want to park so I can carry my baby and pick up my child. I'm now running late to pick him up and I need to park my car." Cue more screaming about my driving skills. How if I can't park, why am I driving with a baby etc. TBH, if she wasn't blocking the space, I would have been fine. At this point, I give up. I told EM that I'm just going to call the SS and ask for help since she wasn't acting reasonably. EM declares that's fine, as the SS are aware who she is and she's waiting to pick up her special needs child and why is my baby more important than her special needs child. At this point I'm back in the car, and pick up my phone. EM sees me do this and immediately gets back in her car and pulls up 6 parking spaces and parks over the middle of the crosswalk. I easily back up, exactly where her car was moments ago, and easily turn into the parking space. I grab my wallet and the baby carrier and hustle into the building. Thinking my encounter is over, I avoid the crosswalk, because not only is she blocking it, I don't want to be outside my car near this lady. As I cross, I notice to my dismay and, more panic, that this EM is now waiting for me at the entrance of the school. As soon as I step onto the sidewalk from the street, EM starts screaming about how entitled I am for using a parking space and not hitting her, and how awful I am for thinking my kids are more important than her special needs child. I honestly shouldn't have said anything else, but again, panicking, I respond that I don't think my kids are more important. That children are people and all people are equal, and I was trying to be nice and not hit her car. At this point I'm at the outer door, struggling to open it because infant carrier and carpal tunnel makes things difficult. EM declares, in between curse words, that I need to be taken down a notch and I better not say anything to SS. I get to the inner door, which has to be opened remotely, and start pulling on it. Sure, she's following me. As it gets buzzed open, I look behind me, relief flooding me as I see her getting back into her car. She must have run. I step into the office and burst into tears, relieved that it's over. I tell SS what has happened, as they are aware that this is not a normal reaction to coming to pick up a child. I apologize for being so late. It's 2:45 at this point, and they call for my child and offer to have someone walk me back out to my car. I accept, as I do not want my second grader to hear EM's vitriol. I have enough time to calm down, clean up my face and check on the baby, who handled all this like a champ before kiddo 1 comes into the office. We wait another few minutes for the staff to make it up front before walking out. We avoid the crosswalk again, as I'm done and want nothing further from this lady. We made it to the car, and finally left, at 3 p.m. LMAO, never had my gender, sexual orientation, race, parentage, and species questioned and cursed about in one interaction before. Thanks for reading. Thank you. Next. On mobile, non-native, keep any mistakes you find. So as many frequent flyers will know, you are always in the vicinity of at least one entitled person. On that particular day, I was flying to London with a friend. We were both a little nervous and arrived at the gate early so we could get on the plane as fast as possible. We had booked business seats, so we simply went to the gate entrance and waited in front for boarding. Karen the EM and her family arrived soon after, pushing several oversized carry-ons and talking loudly. Her 2 teenage-sized kids trotted along silently, and Bob the husband was also saying nothing, but he did have a huge smile. Karen spotted us and her eyes narrowed. Dragging Bob and the luggage, she positioned herself directly behind us. I almost felt her breath on my neck. It was really uncomfortable. My friend sort of glanced at me, then at her, but was too nervous still to talk. Meanwhile, Karen continued talking loudly at Bob, but I soon realized her speech was actually meant for me and my friend, since we had the audacity to stand in this shared space before she arrived. For one, Karen did not like sharing. Also, she had business tickets and it was only logical that everyone else had to get in line behind her family. It would have been hilarious had I not been more preoccupied with my nervous flyer friend. Bob, have you got our tickets? What seats were those? Right in front, weren't they? Business? And so on. As the gate became more crowded, 2 queues formed. We stayed where we were, ignoring Karen and her multiple cleared throats. Bob was staring blankly into space. Teens were hiding out behind the luggage. Karen seemed ready to pounce on us, seeing as we still wouldn't move away from the front of the line. Thankfully, staff announced that boarding was about to begin for priority passengers. Karen piped up, "That's us," and my friend rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might faint. As it soon transpired, however, the priority passengers were 5 wheelchair-bound senior citizens. An FA went on the mic to explain that some of our passengers today have health problems and will be allowed to board first. Did Karen have any comment? Of course she did. Turning to Bob, she exclaimed, "Bob, put away your aspirin. People might think you're the one with health problems." And she laughed, completely oblivious that her surroundings had fallen even more silent. Did I mention her voice carries? At this point, realization sunk in that we still had not even begun the flight, and even on the plane, we would be sitting in close proximity to Karen. Meanwhile, she was not helping matters, as she had now begun the impatient shuffle people in queue sometimes do, sort of pushing into people, as if that could speed things up. She spoke to a passing FA in the sweetest voice. "Excuse me, my girls are getting tired. We did book business seats so we wouldn't have to wait." FA apologized, stating that they still had to seat the senior citizens first. Karen scowled and muttered a slight about disabled people towards Bob. Her teenage girls had all but disappeared behind the bags, looking absolutely mortified by now. If you are familiar with boarding procedures, you probably know that Karen's sufferings were not over yet. Several parents were allowed to walk past us with their young kids, and Karen provided the soundtrack of My Girls, I Have Kids Too, while my friend and I were stifling our laughs. I was surprised that Karen did not knock us over with her bags when the gates opened for us at last. I sat down in row 7 with some trepidation, keeping an eye on Karen, but of course, she and Bob were in row 1. She immediately blocked the aisle with her bags and ushered the girls to sit behind her, which was met with faint protests because those were not the seats they had booked. Nonsense, you're sitting with us. The passengers whose seats had been taken were shut down in a similar fashion. Mind you, this was the first time anyone else in that family had spoken. Bob was still silent, his smile perhaps a little more strained by now. Usually, I enjoy the silence that falls during takeoff. But don't you know, there was no silence. Karen, having badgered the FARs and surrounding passengers, was now only left with poor Bob in front and alternated between expressing her excitement, loudly, and berating Bob. The purser made a few interesting faces. Finally, breakfast was about to be served. The purser apologized for the long delay and announced they had fresh buns. Karen yelped with delight. Soon enough, trays were distributed. The buns, however, never made it past row 1. Yet, Karen actually grabbed the basket from the stunned FA, emptied it on her tray and handed some to her daughters and, I assume, poor Bob. The FA now had to tell the other passengers there were no buns left, while Karen in front, still talking loudly, let everyone know how delicious they were. To this day, I still feel for the poor FA. Hope you enjoyed, and may your weekend be Karen-free. Thank you. Next. So currently I am online to pick up my kids from school. The setup at this school is that there is a 2-lane wide loop around a parking area and the outside lane is designated for parents to pick up kids. The inside lane is left empty so that parked cars can get out of their spaces and leave. I was here early today, so I am at about the halfway point of cars patiently waiting. The line has gotten pretty long, but once the kids come out, even the last car in line will only have a 5-7 minute wait, as the school is pretty efficient and there is a long stretch of sidewalk designated as pickup area, so kids aren't crossing traffic. Full stop. In the last 5 minutes 3 different cars have passed everyone patiently waiting in the line and have parked in the inside lane up front, meaning that no one can leave the parking lot until they move and that their kids will be put in range, as they will have to cross the line of cars already waiting for their kids. I just don't get how people think they are so much more important than everyone else and don't care about their own kids' safety.